Before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another emotional story with a powerful life lesson. On a cold, rainy evening in New York City, Ethan Carter pushed his old pickup truck into the parking lot of St. Mary's Hospital. The truck rattled with every movement, just like the tired man behind the wheel. Ethan wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. He wasn't powerful. He was simply a single father doing everything he could to raise his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Every morning he woke up before sunrise, prepared Lily's breakfast, walked her to school, worked 2 jobs, and still found enough energy to read her bedtime stories every single night. Life had been cruel to Ethan. 5 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a long battle with cancer, leaving him alone to raise their daughter. Many people told him to move on. Others suggested he send Lily to live with relatives. But Ethan made himself one promise: I'll be both her father and her mother. And he never broke that promise. That evening Ethan wasn't visiting a family member. He wasn't even supposed to be inside the hospital. He had delivered food for one of his delivery jobs. As he walked through the hallway carrying an empty delivery bag, he suddenly heard loud shouting coming from a private VIP room. "You only care about my money." An old man's weak voice echoed through the corridor. "You don't care if I live or die." Another voice answered coldly, "Father, you should rest." The words sounded respectful, but the tone was anything but respectful. Curious, Ethan glanced toward the slightly open door. Inside was the richest businessman in the city, William Harrington, a billionaire CEO whose companies employed more than 50,000 people around the world. For weeks every news channel had reported that Harrington was dying. Doctors had given him only days to live. Standing around his bed were his children, his nephews, expensive lawyers, and business partners. Everyone looked sad, but Ethan noticed something strange. No one was looking at William. They were staring at the documents lying on the bedside table. Inheritance papers. They weren't waiting for their father. They were waiting for his fortune. William slowly turned his head toward the room. "I know every one of you." His voice was weak, "but I also know why you're here." Silence filled the room. "You've already divided my money in your minds." One nephew rolled his eyes. "Dad, you're imagining things." William laughed bitterly. "No, I built a billion-dollar empire. I know exactly what greed looks like." Just then William began coughing violently. The room became chaotic. Doctors rushed in. Nurses checked the machines. Family members stepped backward, afraid. Everyone, except Ethan. Without thinking, Ethan ran inside. He supported William's shoulders so he could breathe more easily. A nurse looked surprised. "Thank you." William slowly caught his breath. For the first time in weeks, someone had touched him with genuine care instead of pretending. William looked into Ethan's eyes. "What is your name?" "Ethan." "What do you do?" "I work wherever I can." William smiled. "And yet, you're the only person in this room who helped me." The family members looked annoyed. One of William's sons stepped forward. "Security. This man doesn't belong here." But William raised his trembling hand. "No, he stays." The room instantly fell silent. William continued staring at Ethan. "Do you have a family?" "My daughter. Just the 2 of us." "What happened to your wife?" Ethan hesitated before quietly answering. "She passed away 5 years ago." William lowered his eyes. "I'm sorry." "So am I. But my daughter reminds me every day that life is still worth living." William smiled again. It was the first genuine smile anyone had seen on his face in weeks. The old CEO whispered, "Tell me about your daughter." Ethan pulled out his worn wallet. Inside was a small photograph. Lily wearing a handmade birthday crown, smiling with missing front teeth. William held the picture carefully. "Beautiful. What does she want to be?" "A doctor, so she can save people." William closed his eyes. "My daughter wanted the same thing." Ethan looked surprised. "You have a daughter?" William nodded. "Emma, but I failed her." The room became quiet again. Emma stood in the corner. Elegant, successful, beautiful, yet sadness filled her eyes. She hadn't spoken a single word since Ethan entered. William slowly reached for Emma's hand, then for Ethan's. He gently placed their hands together. The family members immediately exchanged nervous looks. "What are you doing?" one of the lawyers asked. William ignored him. Instead, he looked directly at Ethan. "I have a question." Ethan nodded politely. "What is it?" William took a slow, painful breath. "If a stranger trusted you with the most precious thing in his life, would?" William Harrington's breathing grew slower. Every eye in the room remained fixed on him. The billionaire CEO looked at his attorney and whispered, "Close the door." The lawyer hesitated for a moment before nodding. The heavy wooden door shut with a soft click. The room suddenly became silent. Even the heart monitor seemed louder than before. William tightened his grip on Ethan's hand. "I've spent my entire life building companies, but I failed to build a family." No one dared interrupt him. His oldest son finally spoke. "Father, you're tired. We can discuss business tomorrow." William slowly turned his head toward him. "There may not be a tomorrow." Those words hit the room like thunder. Emma lowered her head, trying to hide the tears rolling down her cheeks. William looked back at Ethan. "You've known me for less than 10 minutes. And yet, you're the only honest man I've met in this room today." One of William's nephews couldn't stay quiet. "This is ridiculous. You don't even know him." William smiled sadly. "I know enough. I've spent 40 years reading people. I know greed, and I know kindness." Then he looked toward his attorney. "Bring me the final document." The lawyer opened a black leather briefcase and carefully removed a thick envelope. Every family member leaned forward. They believed this was finally the moment they had been waiting for. Billions of dollars, luxury homes, private islands, corporate shares, everything was about to be divided. The attorney slowly opened the envelope. William raised one trembling hand. "Before you read it, I have one final condition." The room became perfectly still. William turned toward Ethan. "Ethan Carter, I want you to marry my daughter." The room exploded. "What? Have you lost your mind? This is insanity." William's oldest son slammed his hand against the table. His youngest daughter stared at Emma in disbelief. Several relatives began shouting over each other. Emma herself looked completely frozen. "Dad, what are you saying?" William didn't answer them. His eyes never left Ethan. "If you marry Emma, everything I own will belong to both of you. If you refuse, my entire fortune will be donated to children's hospitals and orphanages." Silence. Complete silence. The family members couldn't believe what they had just heard. One nephew screamed, "You're giving our inheritance to a stranger?" William answered calmly, "No, I'm giving my life's work to someone I can trust." His son pointed angrily at Ethan. "He's manipulating you. He came here for your money." Ethan immediately stepped back. "No, I didn't even know who Mr. Harrington was before tonight." The attorney nodded. "It's true. He wasn't on the visitor list. He entered after delivering food." The room fell silent again. William looked at Ethan. "I don't expect your answer immediately. I only ask you to think." Emma finally spoke. "Father, you can't ask someone to marry me just because he's kind." William smiled gently. "I'm not asking him because he's kind. I'm asking him because he's a man of character." He pointed toward the photograph of Lily. "A man who sacrifices everything for his child will never betray another family." Emma couldn't hold back her tears anymore. For years she had watched wealthy men chase her father's fortune. Some pretended to love her. Others only cared about business connections. Not one of them had ever looked at her the way Ethan had. With simple respect, nothing more, nothing less. William slowly closed his eyes. "I've watched all of you." He looked toward his family. "You measure success by money, but Ethan measures success by the smile of his daughter." No one had an answer. A few moments later, the attorney placed the document in front of Ethan. "You don't have to sign today, but Mr. Harrington wishes to know your decision before." The lawyer stopped speaking. Everyone understood what he meant. Before the CEO died, Ethan looked at Emma. She quietly wiped away her tears. "I never asked for any of this," she whispered. "I know," Ethan replied softly. Neither of them had expected their lives to change within a single hour. One because of a dying father, the other because of pure chance. William reached for Ethan's hand once more. "So, what is your answer?" Every person in the room leaned forward. The billionaire family was certain Ethan would immediately accept. After all, who would refuse billions of dollars? Who would walk away from the richest family in the city? Ethan took a deep breath. He looked at Lily's photograph inside his wallet. Then he slowly raised his head. My answer is, before he could finish, the hospital room door suddenly burst open. A woman rushed inside, breathing heavily. Mr. Harrington, you need to see this immediately. Everyone turned toward her. The shocking news she carried would change everything. And Ethan. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this emotional story, don't forget to like subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another inspiring story. The hospital room fell completely silent. Everyone turned toward the woman who had just rushed inside. She was William Harrington's personal secretary, Sarah. Her face was pale, and she was struggling to catch her breath. Mr. Harrington, I'm sorry for interrupting, but this couldn't wait. William nodded weakly. What is it? Sarah looked around the room before speaking. Our internal investigation is complete. The evidence has been verified. William frowned. What evidence? Sarah slowly placed a thick file on the hospital bed. It proves that someone inside your own family has been stealing money from your companies for years. The room exploded with panic. What? That's impossible. She's lying. Several relatives immediately began shouting. Sarah calmly opened the file. There are fake contracts, hidden bank accounts, and millions of dollars transferred overseas. William's face turned pale. Who? Sarah looked directly at William's oldest son. I'm sorry, but the investigation leads to him. The room froze. His son jumped to his feet. Those papers are fake. You can't prove anything. Sarah quietly handed another document to the attorney. The bank already confirmed every transaction. The attorney read through the papers before slowly removing his glasses. It's true. No one spoke. William closed his eyes in pain. The one person I trusted to continue my legacy was stealing from me. His son suddenly pointed at Ethan. This is all his fault. He came here to turn you against us. Ethan shook his head. I don't even know your family. I've never asked for anything. William slowly raised his hand. Enough. His voice was weak, but every person in the room instantly became silent. William looked at Ethan once again. I asked you a question. What is your answer? Ethan stood quietly for several seconds. He looked at Emma, then at little Lily's picture inside his wallet. Finally, he spoke. Mr. Harrington, I can't marry someone for money. The room went silent. I can't make a promise I don't truly mean. Emma looked down. She wasn't surprised. In fact, she respected him even more. Ethan continued. I've taught my daughter that love is never something you buy. If I accepted your offer because of your fortune, I'd become exactly like the people standing in this room. Several family members lowered their heads in shame. William smiled. A genuine smile. Perhaps the happiest smile he'd shown in years. I knew you would say that. Everyone stared at him in confusion. You knew? William nodded. I never wanted a son-in-law who wanted my money. I wanted proof that such a man still existed. Then he looked at Emma. My daughter, for years you've been surrounded by people who loved our name, our wealth, our influence. But this man, he was willing to walk away from billions without hesitation. Emma couldn't stop crying. For the first time in years, she saw someone whose heart wasn't controlled by money. William reached toward the attorney. Read my final instructions. The attorney unfolded the final page. My fortune will not belong to anyone who values money above family. He looked around the room. 60% of the Harrington Foundation will be donated to children's hospitals, schools, and orphanages. Several relatives gasped. The remaining shares of Harrington Industries will be placed into a charitable trust managed by an independent board. William's children looked horrified, and finally, the attorney smiled slightly. Mr. Ethan Carter. Ethan looked surprised. You are offered the position of chairman of the Harrington Foundation. The room froze. Ethan immediately shook his head. I don't know anything about running a billion-dollar foundation. William smiled. You know kindness. The rest can be learned. The old CEO slowly reached for Emma's hand. Then Ethan's. I never asked you to marry today. I only hoped that one day, if life brought you together naturally, you'd give each other a chance." Emma smiled through her tears. "I'd like that." Ethan smiled politely. "So would I, but as friends." William laughed softly. "A good friendship is the best place for love to begin." A few minutes later, the heart monitor began slowing down. Doctors rushed forward. Emma held her father's hand tightly. "I love you, Dad." William looked one last time at Ethan. "Take care of people who have no one. I promise." Those were the final words William Harrington heard. A few seconds later, the monitor released one long, steady tone. The billionaire CEO was gone. Weeks passed. The newspapers